How many charities do you think there are in the UK today? Any rough guesses to the nearest 10? No, to the nearest 100 or 1,000, I don't know. Sorry? About 6,000. Okay, we've got 6,000. 10,000 going once. 6,000. 112,000. 4,000, right? Okay. Yeah. Any other guesses? Okay. Lauren, is that a hand up or are you just kind of doing a... Sorry? 12,500. Well, let me tell you that as of February 2009, I don't have today's, I'm afraid, sorry. February 2009, there were 170,905 charities in the United Kingdom. Now, I would imagine that has dropped since, because obviously recession and tough times, a lot of charities have had to close. So 170,095 charities. What does the word charity mean to you? Doesn't matter if it's right or not.
Giving.
Giving. Okay, yeah. That's nice.
Non-profit organisation.
Non-profit organisation. Like it? Yeah, go on, Lauren. Saving lives. In my niece's case, saving snow leopards. That's what she wanted for Christmas, a snow leopard. Or adopting a snow leopard. Yeah. Right. Well, I went to a charity shop recently. I won't say which one. As there are plenty, that helps. I went in and, you say, hello, Happy New Year. It's New Year's Eve. No reply. Now, I don't know anything about the person behind the till. They may have had a very bad day. They may have had some bad news. But the face was absolute. It was seriousness. It was. There was no charity about this person. And I felt very sorry for them. Especially as I went deeper into the shop and they seemed to need to follow me. Don't know what there was worth nicking there. But anyway, no, we shouldn't say that. I felt a little bit judged, and I felt a little bit bad for this person that they couldn't even smile. What was their interest in being there? Did they really believe in that which they were doing? I.e., having a charity shop for an organisation that supposedly saves lives. Not for profit, but to help others. What was the reason for the being there? And it made me suddenly think that actually, what's the reason for our faith? For our love? Gandhi once said, if all Christians were like Jesus, you'd have India at your feet. Why? What is it about a faith? Is it self-assurance? Is it self-confidence? Is it self-worth? Or is it about selfless abandon to the gospel? I'm doing what I do because I believe in it. Because I have something fantastic to share and to give. Paul, when he's writing to the churches, he's not writing to every church the same message. He's writing about the same gospel. He's writing about the same God, but he's writing to people who have different situations, different problems, different personalities and characters. So when he's writing to the Colossians, he's writing to a place that is heavily influenced by other philosophies, other ideologies. And he's emphasising that this gospel that you heard, this good news about Jesus Christ, it's not just a gospel that you heard some random place. It's a specific gospel. It's a gospel that has set you free from the power of darkness. What I like about Colossians, if you look at verse 3, he talks about thanking God for them when he hears about their faith. And in verse 5 we get to the faith and love. This is what he's talking about. That spring from the hope that is stored up for you in heaven, that you have already heard about in the word of truth, the gospel that has come to you. The joy and faith is rooted in the gospel. When we start this year, for example, do we start this year thinking, okay, what's the government going to do about our local community? What am I going to do about shopping tomorrow for the family? We start already with the competitive life, with the challenging life. The Christian life is, well, that's just what I am. It's, my face will show the true nature. My face isn't that I've got the joy of Christ in me. My face is actually, I've got the burden of the world on me. That's not necessarily wrong. That's just reality, isn't it? Because the burden of life hits us very, very sharply. So where do we start when we start a new year? Where do we start to get that joy in our face, that fantastic inspiration from the gospel? Well, to be honest, it comes probably at the hardest of times. It comes usually when there is great hardship and great persecution. It comes when we're expecting the need to rely on God. That's why it's important to pray, because prayer, it says, God, I'm dependent on you. God, I can't do this day without you. So let's take a very quick look at some verses. Verses 9 to 12, or the passage Steve read earlier. For this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying. I love the start of that. We have not stopped praying. On our boards, we have various missionaries and mission organisations and groups who we can pray for, because they're doing the work of God out in some very wild and weird places. Did we forget to pray for them? Now, don't feel guilty if you do, because I do too. But perhaps we need to make that effort to actually remind ourselves who we're praying for. Next week, for example, we're praying for Bob and Joe Roberts, Bill and Jan Roberts, who do their work in Sierra Leone. Now, I remember last year they did a very, very vivid video presentation of the children they work with, and how Muslim families had come up to them and said, please take our children so they'll live a better life. So they can know Jesus. There's no hope for us to know Jesus, but there'll be hope for our children. That struck with me. I was shocked by that. They do such a hard work. But ever since I've heard about that, I've been praying for it. Maybe if we started sharing with each other, look, I'm in this situation and I really need prayer. I need to group together. I need to pray on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. One thing I found very helpful at school was my Christian union. Now, not all schools have Christian unions this day and age. Probably because it's not PC. But young people, if you need something which you have to kind of let your hearts out about what's going on at school, what's going on in your lives, you may not feel you can share it with an adult, but maybe with another teenager who's going through the same thing. Get together with other Christian teenagers and pray together. Pray together. Talk to your parents. Ask your parents to pray with you on a regular basis. Whatever you do, just start praying, and start praying today. Start it with prayer. Do not be silent about the problems or the struggles that you have this coming year. Do not be afraid to share them. We have not stopped praying for you and asking God to fill you with the knowledge of His will. I've got a picture there of a school teacher teaching his student some algebraic nonsense. There's a lot we can fill our minds with. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of facts and theories and ideas we can fill our brains with. And at the end of the day, yes, they'll help to some point. But if we do not have God's knowledge and will, through all spiritual wisdom and understanding, we can't put it to best use. We can put it to use, but not to best use. We're in God's creation. We need to make use of His creation. That starts with us. And we need to pray that we understand what God is trying to call us to this year. What is it all about? That's a good place to start. The second one is about bearing fruit. I don't know about you, but anything we try to grow, it lasts for a short time and then seems to wither away. It can be like that sometimes in our spiritual lives. Let's face it. New year, new start, New Year's resolutions. Who has made New Year's? Every New Year's Day they always ask this, don't they? First Sunday of the New Year, every minister across the world asks, who has made New Year's resolutions? Who has? Go on. Wow, not what? One. Wow, well done. Well done. Great. I won't ask what it was. New Year's resolutions. Some of the top ones, of course, are I will not eat any more turkey, or I'll put off I'll go on a diet, I promise. You know, it's very interesting. We make promises. We say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. We start off with all good intentions, and then we stall. We fail. We go, no. And once we've failed, it's ever so hard to pick ourselves up again. Because it's a whole year before the next New Year's resolution. Let me say, start each day fresh. Start each day new. Start each day as if it's a new race. You've only got a race today. That's it. Just one day at a time. Let tomorrow worry about itself. Yes, I know we have things to plan for. But we start bearing fruit by allowing God to work in us today. To use us today. What can God do with me today? Now, it's good to have ambition. It's good to have dreams. It's good to have plans. I have lots of plans. Of mice and men. But how often will they come to pass? I have to be prepared for that change. What does it say here? Bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God. You see, there's a difference between good work and good work growing in the knowledge of God. Because there's good works, lots of people can do good works, but there's good work for His glory. That's the fruitfulness we're talking about. That's the fruitfulness that will last, even if we don't see it. There's my parents, being the Salvation Army, they've moved around from corps to corps several times, and they tend to go to some of the hardest places. And I call them the ground breakers. They have to break up the hard ground. They plant some seed, then they have to move on. Someone else comes in and they start watering that seed and see the fruit. Now, does that mean they haven't been fruitful? Because you haven't seen the results of your hard work, does that mean there are none? Fear not, because fruit does grow. And it grows in the strangest of places sometimes. Let's go on to the next one. The next one's about being strengthened, and this is very important. Being strengthened with all power according to His glorious might, so that you might have great endurance and patience. Let's start with that first bit. Being strengthened with all power according to His glorious might. What power do you have? Well, for me, very little. What skills and abilities do you have? You might think you don't have a lot. What do I have to offer? I get sick a lot. I'm not very strong. I'm not very eloquent. I'm not a good speaker. I'm not talking about myself. Whatever we may think we have a problem with, whatever we think our weakest thing is, it is at that point where we find God's greatest strength. Because God's might, God's power is what strengthens us. Not my own will, but His will be done. It's the only thing that got Christ through the Garden of Gethsemane. Not my will, but yours be done. It was only by that will that He had from His Father. So are we going to be strengthened this new year? Are we going to be strengthened, ready for the race? Are we going to train ourselves? Are we going to get ready? Are we going to look at this day? Are we going to look at this year and say, whatever you've got handled, God and me can handle it together? Are we ready to run the race with great endurance, with great patience? And we need both of those, don't we? Patience and endurance. Patience, maybe with families or colleagues or situations, waiting for news, exam results, maybe thinking about our children in university, getting work. And again, that folds back into prayer, doesn't it? Where we say, God, this I commit to you, and I trust in you. But many times also, God will show us the way to do something about it. God will show us the way to do something about it. Let me talk about this last one before we go into the time of communion. giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in the kingdom of light. God has qualified you. I don't know about you, but I was always picked last when it came to sports. It wasn't actually a problem. I was lousy at sports, so of course I was picked last. I mean, what did I expect? To be picked first and captain of the team? I don't think so. I was useless. I was rubbish. But God has qualified us to be part of a team. Can anybody tell me what this might be? I'm hearing a torch. Yeah. Yeah, hang on, don't jump ahead, Mike. You know it, don't worry. Yeah, well done. It's a torch. How do torches work? Yes. Batteries, yeah. This one doesn't have batteries. No, it's not a wind-up. No, it's not a wind-up. Yes, it's a kinetic one. It's one you shake to get going. Now the light may not be all that fantastic. If I shake it more it will be, but it's quite old, this one now. If I shake it, the light comes on. Now, we may think pretty much of our light, the light of Christ in our lives, not to be very strong. We may think, well, I'm so small, I'm not very much, or maybe we think we're the brightest light in the barn. Actually, that's our light. Whatever our light may be, God wants to make use of it. And sometimes it requires a shaking up. Yeah, I know. Yeah, very, very poor illustration maybe. But when you have a dark room, I'm talking pitchiest black, one little light will brighten it all up. One little light in the darkest of all places is the brightest it needs to be seen. You see, the thing about a torch is it has a function, it has a purpose. We are called to be inheritors of the kingdom of light. The kingdom of light. And light shines in the darkness. And the reason we have this light... Now let me read from here. Let me read from here. No, I haven't actually written it down. Silly me. Sorry. The reason we need a light is so that people can know the way. So that people can see what is around them. God sent Christ to be a light in the world. A light shining in the darkness. To say, come and follow me. I am the way, the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. But more importantly, that light shines in you. And there's a reason it shines in you. It's a very important reason to remember who you are in Christ. And it's in verse 13. For God has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son, Jesus, He loves, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. Those are two important words to remember. C.S. Lewis once was asked if you could sum up Christianity in one word, distinguishing it from all other philosophies and religions, what would it be? And it was one word, immediately, forgiveness. Forgiveness. We start this year forgiven. We start this year redeemed. Not because of good work, not because of our New Year's resolutions, but because God has seen fit to qualify us for the race ahead. He has seen fit to put His light in our lives. And His light, it doesn't matter how much we think it shines, His light will shine. We don't assess our light. We don't think, now what can I do to make my light shine better? What we do is we say, God, this is my light. Shine for me. Shine through me. Be my light. Be my strength. Give me patience and endurance. I trust in you. This is the gospel. This is the life-changing gospel that we need to take seriously when we start a race. Are we prepared to see it grow and bear fruit in our lives? Are we prepared to build each other up? Because we're not in a competition. We're not in a competition against each other. The competition has been won by Christ. We're just called to finish the race. Are we going to run it or are we going to sit it out? This is the challenge to us this year. This is the hope we have this year. Don't be left behind. But if you see someone struggling, go and help them out. I think it was in a relay race in Beijing. I'm not sure. It was, I think... I can't remember now. It's just come into my head. The relay race. There was 2 countries racing. One was American, and they were running. They get a relay. The other team, however, one person tripped, and the other racer saw it, stopped, and went back to help them up, and then continued running. That's what we need to do. Race a race, but race it to finish. Race it to finish, knowing what it's all about. Let's just pray before we turn to the Lord's table and share together in that wonderful gospel truth, the forgiveness of sins made possible by Christ on the cross.